of our institutions to make sure that we form part of the global highway. It's not enough to have sophisticated services in our institutions, no matter how sophisticated they are, whether they are local in our institutions or they are on the cloud. If our stakeholders do not have a reliable network to be able to access them, it becomes a problem. So, all of us are aware of the directives from the Honorable Minister of Education that we should all try and onboard Blackboard, put our staff and students on Blackboard. And we are also aware that State Fund is funding about 11 services, including TERAS. Blackboard, of course, is one of them. All these are there, and we are expected, as directors of ICT, to make sure that our over 2 million students and staff are onboarded. Eventually, we want to see all our courses be made available on the Blackboard. But how do we do that? To be able really to achieve this, one of the most important things that we have to have in place is a well-planned campus network. Well-planned campus network. The network infrastructure, power, human capacity are all important. Is anything wrong with my slides, please? Okay? So my time has not started. Sure. So you will also come to note that there are some images that I will project, which have already been projected by Chile. The reason is because I was also at the NUC, the Swaba is 2012. Actually, I was part of the team that planned for the Nigerian Research and Education Network, Nigerian. I was part of the implementation. I was also part of the operation of the Nigerian Swaba is 2012. They move my slides. Okay? So actually I have two objectives. One is for my colleagues to understand the minimum consideration for ICT infrastructure required to implement sustainable ICT services in tertiary institutions. Two, understand the funding models of ICT in tertiary institutions. And my outline is next. I have to rush if I have to go back slides. We'll be looking at the introduction, then from HE, HME, Honorable Minister of Education, then the technical services. Then I will be looking at the ICT infrastructure, made up of bandwidths, campus-wide network, access devices, power supply. Then we'll be looking at planning for campus infrastructure. Then we'll look at the funding model, and then more on collaboration, case for engineering. And then I'll give you a case study, what we did in my university where we are. This is an introduction. Many of our institutions do not have well-structured ICT environment necessary to develop, deploy, and manage many ICT services required to effectively use technology to improve the quality of teaching, research, and administration in our institutions. Yes, we do have some, but not to the level that is required to effectively and sustainably provide these services. And it is in this same environment that the Honorable Minister of Education is giving us directives through the reference indicated there on the 24th of March, where he approved a precondition that in order for each institution to access their year 2025 ICT intervention, they must show evidence of onboarding their staff and students to the Blackboard Ultra LMS, and relevant ICT platforms. Enforce usage, and adoption of all the platforms verified by appropriate authorities. This is excellent. Provided the environment is made available in our institutions, which is the problem right now. The environment is not that conducive. But we also know that HEDFund is funding about 11 services. All these are services. The terrace is the first one, the beams is there, the club is there, a mobile data package for staff and students, HEDFund sponsored textbooks, F4 host subscription, repository for beneficiary institutions, Eagle Scan, international computer, digital literacy, Blackboard Ultra, and communication skills certification. All these are services provided by HEDFund for the benefit of our tertiary institutions. But are we really accessing them? That is the issue. That's the challenge. That's what we will try to address. The institutions are not ready. Well, most of us are not ready. Okay? Because we need robust ICT infrastructure for us to be able to support these initiatives. And minimum requirements, I'm not saying these are all, but these are the minimum that we really need to have in our tertiary institutions to be able to support the directives of the minister. One is 2, campus-wide network. 3, access devices and power. Okay? Now, when you look at the case of bandwidth, this is one of the greatest headaches that we have in our tertiary education. Bandwidth is too expensive, and the funding is grossly inadequate for us to be able to provide the kind of bandwidth that is required to support the kind of initiatives that we are talking about. And you require bandwidth to access services, to facilitate research and innovation, to enhance administrative efficiencies, to support CBT exams, improve student experience, and attract partnership and global recognition. Without bandwidth, you cannot be able to do any of these things. You will not be able to access anything. And bandwidth is expensive, as you will see later. Some institutions do not have any bandwidth on campus. There could be some newer institutions, very new institutions that have just taken up, that probably have just a modem, where they buy data on their mobile phones and do tethering, and then they will have some kind of access. Some have inadequate capacity. Hardly any institution has enough. Even those that talk about having gigabits per second. I know university also has about 1 gigabit or more. Bandwidth probably 2, but even that is not enough. Thus, a high-speed campus-wide bandwidth is no longer a luxury, but a necessity if we are to compete globally, enhance learning and drive innovation. Access to resources, including Blackboard and Terrace, that we are instructed to onboard, are only possible on campus with adequate bandwidth. How I wish we have representatives of the Honorable Minister of Education here so that he can take this message. No director of ICT will refuse to carry on the directives of the Honorable Minister. But it is not possible for us to do it if our hands are tied. We have to have bandwidth. So we just have to have bandwidth. Now, the next one is a campus-wide network, the backbone. In fact, this is one of the most important things that you should have as far as infrastructure is concerned, for you to have sustenance and stability in your campuses. Okay? Now, if you don't have campus-wide network, you have limited access to services from across the campus. You want a situation whereby your lecturers, your students, wherever they are on campus, 2 a.m. in the night, they should be able to access the internet and other resources to do their research, do their reading, and the rest of them. If there is no campus-wide network, it won't happen. Poor communication and collaboration locally and globally is also not possible. So limited research capabilities because lecturers cannot access the services, inability to offer online teaching such as using blackboards, digital illiteracy among students and staff, and limited global visibility among other things are the results of lack of campus-wide connectivity among others. So establishing a campus-wide ICT network in institutions can create an environment conducive to learning, research, innovation, and administrative functions and competitiveness. Then we look at access devices. The third infrastructure you need are access devices. Even if you have gigs of bandwidth and you have a well-structured network campus-wide, if there are no access devices where staff and students can access devices could be their mobile phones, it could be their laptop computers, desktop computers, and ICT labs. If they are not there, they will not be able to utilize the bandwidth. So access devices are very, very necessary and important. And absence of such devices undermines our ability to remain competitive, adapt to technological changes. Absence is a barrier in accessing learning materials, including blackboard and terrace. Is a barrier also in conducting research, developing digital skills, participating in modern educational practices, and inefficient administrative processes are all as a result of inadequate access devices. Therefore, providing adequate computers in our ICT labs, libraries, and staff offices is crucial to improving our institutions' overall educational experience and operational efficiencies. All these things that I have mentioned are really expensive and they require a lot of money. And that is where the challenge is. We hardly have enough in our tertiary institutions. And one of them, the power. Power. Ensuring uninterrupted power supply is very crucial if we should be able to access the services that we are talking about. Whether they are on the cloud or on the bridge, you still have need power to make sure that all the devices are running. No power failures during exams can lead to cancellation or malpractice skill risks. So power issue still there, and a reliable power supply is just the backbone of any functional ICT infrastructure. And we know power is expensive. Somebody mentioned that you will have secure about power data center was 20 million, and I heard Professor Adidipun was asking how many decent batteries will that buy? Probably one or two. That is it. 30 million is gone. Okay? So now, efficient access to platform services and onboarding of staff and students require infrastructure planning and design. Now I'm looking at what do we do, how do we plan? Infrastructure planning, bandwidth, power, human capacity, and collaborations. If you are planning your campus, please try to plan it in the form of core distribution access. Core distribution access. At a minimum, let there be a core and access. You can collapse the distribution, but let there be core and access. And core is at your data center or server room. Is where your internet connection comes in. There you really need enterprise devices to really be able to have a very sustainable plan. Then the distribution layer also is there. If you have the capacity, you have the money, yes, you can have the distribution layer, which will be locations in your campuses. But remember, from your data center to any of the locations, you need to have, you need fiber. Please try to invest in fiber. Build backbone with fiber optics. Please, if you can, don't build backbone with wireless or UT. Wireless is okay, but it has a lot of problems in terms of managing administration. Most especially during the rainy seasons, when you have one thunderstorm and it will blow in many of your devices. But when you lay fiber, you can have fiber on ground. In the next 20 years, you don't mind about it. In my university, we have fiber as far back as 2009. And as we speak now, we are not bothered about it any longer. It is there. All we do is to extend it to new buildings as they come up. On your last mile. Last mile is between the point of presence of your network operator and your data center. let that fiber be your own, so that you can now have ownership of what is there. And also own your internet protocol, IP numbers. Actually, there's no much time to talk about these things, but they are very important. You can always look at them one by one. Once you own your own IPs, you can go with any network operator, and you can cut off with any network operator. Your last mile is your own, your IPs are yours, so you can go with whatever you want. Invest in high capacity core equipment, most especially in the core. In the core, make sure that there are things like Cisco, Huawei, and the rest of them. In terms of switches, routers, and the rest, firewalls, and the rest of them. In the distribution or access layers, you can now decide to go with less expensive devices, but make sure your core is high capacity equipment. Build redundancy in every sense of it, whether it is power or access, bandwidth coming into your institution, there's a redundancy, and so on and so forth. Sorry, Mr. Please. Implement quality of service. Make sure that you have quality of service so that you prioritize those services that require high capacity bandwidth are of more importance than the others. Browsing is of less importance compared to when you do video conferencing or virtual meeting and the rest of them. So have quality of service so that you can prioritize them. Deploy network monitoring. There be some network monitoring. There are many network monitoring. Some are free, some are enterprise. I mentioned some of the open source and then enterprise, and those that are on cloud. Just make sure you have a monitoring software that will help you detect problems before they happen. Network security is a big one. Network security is a big one. Cyber security is a problem now. And cyber security is talking about all those practices, protecting your systems, networks, and programs and data from digital attacks, unauthorized access, or exploitation. So there is compelling reason why you should have the cyber security tools available in your institution to ensure that data is protected, to comply with rules and regulations from the NIDA, and the network regulators. And here are some components of cyber security: network security, application security, information security, operational, disaster recovery, and end user education. This is why cyber security is important. Tools of cyber security, there are many tools that you can utilize to ensure that you secure your network. Component of network security, the bandwidth. Remember, bandwidth coming into versions was shared and dedicated. Shared bandwidth means you and other organizations are using the same pipeline, and whoever is there first carries most of the bandwidth. While dedicated bandwidth means the pipe is yours and yours alone. So it's always better for us to go with dedicated bandwidth if you can afford it. But estimate capacity repair. This is very important. This is the justification of why we always say bandwidth is very expensive. Estimate the number of your users. That's the students on campus, off campus, lecturers, admin staff. Then identify usage patterns. Are you doing e-learning? Are you doing virtual meetings? Is it only administrative services that you do? And so on and so forth. Then you can come up with a matrix. Look at the matrix. You are doing web browsing. You are thinking about between 100 to 500 kilobits per second. Video streaming, 55 Mbps. Conferencing, 1.5 to 3. Large file downloads, 5 to 10. Fast, BitTorrents. Now, look at a formula, a simple formula for computing the bundles that you require. Total bundles is equal number of concurrent users. We say concurrent users, not every user in the campus. Concurrent users, those that will go simultaneously at the same time. So, times average usage per user. You assume 1,000 concurrent users. That does not mean the institution has only 1,000 staff users. Let's say you have 10,000 users or 20,000 users. But 1,000 users access the internet simultaneously. And you assume average capacity per user. In the first example, you are doing browsing only. 300 kilobits per second. So total bandwidth required is 300 Mbps. That's about 2 STM1, or thereabout. 2 STM1s. Now, what of the second example? Assume 1,000 concurrent users. Assume average capacity per user of 1.5. Now you are looking at where you do some video streaming, video conferencing, real-time lectures, and the rest of them. Now you still with 1,000 users times 1.5 Mbps per second. That's about 1.5 gigabits per second. But how much is the bandwidth? Now, I'm going backwards forward. Now, bandwidth is 8,000 now. To get STM1, you need about 1 million, 1.5 million per month per STM1. Right? Chairman, STM1 goes for how much? Per month? 155 Mbps per second. Goes for about 1 to 1.5 million.
I think for now, I'm paying 60 million per annum for 1 gigabit.
For 1 gigabit, 60 million. How many institutions can afford 60 million per gigabit? And even that gigabit is not enough for him.
That's 6 STM1.
6 STM1 is not enough for him. So that is how expensive bandwidth is. So that is why many institutions cannot afford to even have adequate bandwidth that will allow seamless operations to happen in our institutions. Now power. I talked about power. Maybe I should just go fast through the power. I spoke about power. I said now we should all invest in solar inverter, batteries, diesel batteries, better, backup operated generators, PHCN, never PHCN, all the time. But power is very, very important in what we do. Human capacity, this is a big one. This is one that is mostly being misunderstood by our funding agencies. Right now, TED Fund is not doing any capacity building in terms of ICT, technical staff, real training of technical staff in our tertiary institutions. When we talk about that, we are talking about young engineers with expertise in modern high-capacity networking, fiber optics, security, and network management. Even those organizations that do trade, like NCC, through Digital Bridge Institute, are always doing what? Productivity tools. Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, in and out, which is not what we need. We need people, trained IT staff that can really provide this kind of services for us. Ongoing training for users. I'm sorry, sir. I'm almost done. Collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. Collaboration is key. There's very little you can achieve if you don't collaborate. Even with your IT department, setting up teams is collaboration. Collaboration with other departments is collaboration. Collaboration with other institutions within your town is collaboration. Collaboration within the states, with institutions, universities, polytechnics, colleges of education, it's collaboration. Regional collaboration, national collaboration, and international collaboration. This is very, very necessary, very important. Almost every speaker has mentioned the issue and the need for collaboration. So we must take it seriously. Then I talk about funding. Government and statutory funds, debt fund, universal provision fund, budgetary allocation, then public-private partnership funding as collaboration with private sector, outsourcing and skills program, institutional and community funding, internal and regional revenue, donor and development agencies. Then a case study of research and education network. This is what RNP is. What we have in the cycle there are our institutions. Out there are other research and education networks. Some are regional, some are global. They are all connected to us. Notice the green area here called commodity internet. Commodity internet means the commercial internet. In a typical research and education network, no national or international research and education network will allow you to connect to them if you are using commercial internet. So your commercial internet must be separate if you really want to communicate with others. So I talk about that. This is a diagram Chinedu showed earlier on. This is a engineering. Yes, we knew it 2012, 2013. I don't know what it is now. But this is really MPLS design and development. And this runs around 27 federal tertiary institutions. But what we are talking about, engineering is for all tertiary institutions, not for universities, not for polytechnics, not for colleges of education. Therefore, if we want to reactivate engineering, it is all of us here, the directors of ICT, that must come together and see that engineering comes back. If it doesn't come back, let us not blame anybody. And we are holding ComDICT-NTI responsible for making sure that engineering comes back. The chairman is there, I'm sure he's committed. The secretary general is also here, I'm sure they are all committed. I'm sure all the directors of ICT here are equally committed. Because we get things cheaper, we collaborate, we share resources, we do so much when we are in a research and education network. I remember in 2013, when we came to NIDA, we had an issue, we wanted NIDA to come in, and we proposed that we do a needs assessment of all our tertiary institutions so that we know where we are at that time, which we did. We designed questionnaires, we sent them, we gathered the data, we developed reports, and we sent to NIDA. That report is still with NIDA. Sir, our report is still there with you. Please take a look at it. Probably something can come out of it. So, see, these are REN initiatives. North Africa, West Africa. Notice, even Nigeria is there. Even though the Nigerian engineering is now limited to some institutions, for whatever reason, there are issues that we really need to sit together to really be able to address them if we really need to go beyond that. Central Africa, East Africa, South Africa, and the regional networks are all there. Then, these are some of the things that we did in Osman Danfodio University to be able to reach a level where we are able to sustain our network to some extent. Not that we have everything that we need. In fact, in terms of bandwidth, we just have 3 STM1, which is grossly inadequate. A single user can take up all of that before you know it, most especially if you don't have a good security in place. So, this is grossly inadequate. But at least some of the things that we did are there. The policy, we did. The strategic plan, we lay fiber, we do training, and so on and so on and so forth. Thank you.